Good afternoon, everyone. How's midterms going? Everyone excited for midterms? Ready? Going well? Going well? All right. I'll take that as a resounding yes. All right. So here's our general agenda. First, we're gonna have our outperforming moments. Oh, that's actually supposed to say me. Then we're gonna have our market outlook with Juan Carlos Sanchez, our economic perspective with Alex, mergers and acquisitions with Brian, and finally our sweet spot with obviously Professor Sweet. So let's get right in. Outperforming moments. Does anyone here today have any outperforming moments in the past couple of weeks, since their last meeting? Anything happen? I had an interview. Congratulations. Anyone else? Oh, that's really good. I guess I'll go ahead and go. Recently, I was nominated as the member of the month for the Business Student Council. So there you go. All right, moving on. So here's our quote of the day. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you, right? So with that being said, right, you have to go and do the things that are challenging, right? You have to go on and really for me, the meaning of this quote is that you have to do the things that you don't want to do in order to grow and outperform and achieve more as a person, right? So even if, maybe you don't feel ready to like accept an internship or something like that, especially, if you're a freshman, sophomore, and you want to get more involved, do the things that challenge you, do the things that you don't necessarily expect. Don't like let yourself fail and don't be your own barrier to success. So that's really what this quote means to me. And obviously everyone can have a different take on it. All right, so everyone sign in, do attendance. We'll give a couple more seconds here for everyone to get the QR code. Remember, make sure to sign in so you could be a part of the raffle right at the end. All right, moving on. So first up, market outlook.
All right, so first I'd like to start off with how the market has been moving not only this week, but as well as since the beginning of the year of 2023, as well as for the month of February. So today the S&P has closed at 3,951 points. So it went down 18.76 points or 0.47%. And we can see the S&P had a year to date of 3.82% increase. And in the month of January, it increased from the beginning of the year, the month of January, 6.60%. So, all the talks about inflation trying to bring down the market, what's happening, right? And then we actually see it on February. I don't know if y'all can see, it's more towards the right of the graph. February actually went down 3.62%. And this could be with the inflation reaction. And then we also have the 10-year Treasury. The 10-year Treasury today reached during the day 4%, which the last time it went up to 4% was back in November. So not good stuff for investors, having things pushing more expensive. And now we have target earnings. Target earnings came out, I believe, yesterday, if I remember correctly. So with their revenue, their actual revenue came out for the month, quarter four, $31.4 billion versus the expected $30.46 billion. So they beat expectations. They did way better. So that's a good mark for them. Probably a good buy for them as well. Now, we also had sales increase 0.7% from their previous 8.9% back in the same quarter for last year, 2021. And their adjusted earnings per share increased, pretty good deal, $1.89 versus the expected $1.48. So they earned a lot more on their earnings compared to their how many shares they had out. And still current issue, I know I talked about it, I believe 2 weeks ago, last week with Home Depot. They're combating lower consumer spending. People are trying to spend less, or people are still spending regardless. So we have Target actually trying to combat this by lowering and introducing specials with their own name brands. I believe their name brand includes Hill Country, as well as, I saw this in the article, I believe it was called Cat and Jack, the toddler clothing lines that they own, which is better priced. So they're looking for pricings of $3, $10, $15 to encourage consumers, regardless of inflation, to keep on buying their products. And we also see a comment by the CEO, Brian Cornell, that they're pleased with the sales results, but regardless of their sales, they're trying to combat like the tough economy that's going on right now. And for the year of 2022 of Target, you saw a 109 billion revenue, which is an increase of 3 billion from 2021. And the sales grew as well 2.2% on top of what they had already grown of 12.7%. And now we move on to what they closed today, which is $162. They went down 3.62%. And then we can also see a comparison of the month of February. So basically them actually feeling inflation. We saw with the S&P 500, I believe it was down 3.3%. Yes, 3%. And here in Target, we see a similar effect of a decline throughout February. And we see they're at an all-time low right now for the month of February. Now we have the $1.25 store, or Dollar Tree, as well with their earnings that came out today. So in comparison to Target, Target's more, I guess, a bougie, more expensive, but not really. And we have Dollar Tree, $1.25. How many people are actually going to Dollar Tree, spending money in Dollar Tree rather than Target or Walmart? So their annual profit is also expected to slow down, similar to other consumer stocks, as well as their competitor, Dollar General. So with their decline, they're expecting how are they gonna increase sales, and what are they gonna do to combat inflation, or are they just gonna tank it? So their year-on-year revenue was 7.72 billion actual, which beat their expected 7.6 billion. And same store sales as well increased. So what same store sales is essentially the sales that they're making with stores that are already propped up 1 year or older. And they had 125 stores open this past quarter, as well as 74 that they just shut down and relocated 30. So you can see why same store sales could be as well as important, how much, not just I guess like a fad of people coming into a new store. New store comes in, we want to shop there, check it all out. They had a EPS of $2.04, which beat their expected $2.02. Not too different, but still matters. And we had their stock today close at $148, which is an increase of $2.84. And we could see in the little graph there, in the beginning, it shot up. They had probably good expectations, and then it started to settle down more towards the end of the day. And here we also have a trend from the beginning of the year to now. We see them pretty stable, to be honest. Their shares were roughly 140 starting at the beginning of the year. And you see a spike there towards the end of January, early February, then a slight decline, and then a scoop back up with their earnings report towards the end, February. Now, today at 3 p.m., there was a investors showcase here in Austin at 3 p.m. And Elon Musk spoke about their Tesla master plan. Does that sound very interesting? Like almost like if foreshadowing, they might say promises that they could not keep. So over the past 5 years, they have actually cut their price of vehicles almost by 50%. And in trying to boost sales with higher inflation and people trying to spend less, they're revamping their Model Y. So basically just doing an interior upgrade, updates, making a more look. And this is set to release in 2024, as well as they are planning to do a Mexico expansion in Monterrey. So with that, they're gonna cheaper labor, ship it up here in the United States. They're gonna reduce their costs and sell more. They're able to reduce their cost per vehicle. And if there's a sale on Tesla, people are more prolonged to buy it. Personally, not really, because I just bought a car. I would not want to buy two cars with my non-existent salary. Now, with their Tesla goal, their goal is to ship out and sell 20 million electric vehicles by the end of 2023. And going back to the investor day, which happened today, before the investor day occurred at 3 p.m., their stock went down 1.43%. And then towards the end, it went down more by 3%. And I believe a couple of hours around 7 p.m., it was actually down 6% after hours. So with this, they put out promises to do renewable batteries without using, I believe lithium. So they wanted to go over that, do a more eco-friendly way, as well as, like I said before, reduce their payments, their cost per vehicle. So we see here Tesla decreasing 1.43%. They closed at $202. And then also the after hours was down 5%. And here's their trend from the beginning of the year. It's just been going up, right? I believe they had a price reduction on, I'm not sure which Tesla model, but with a reduced sales, more people are prolonged to buy it. They're like, hey, that's a steal. Like I've always wanted an electric vehicle. I'd rather spend money on that. Connected with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, I'd be more happy to help you out. Either, yeah. Thank you.
Hi guys. Please welcome up Alex for the economic perspective. Thank you.
Alrighty, guys, you got some good stuff. Go over personal consumption expenditure, PCE, consumer spending, and then consumer sentiment. So, we have January PCE come in month over month, 0.6 versus a 0.2% previously. So we had a run up in inflation. And this is kind of important because the Fed actually looks at this over CPI. So, PCE and CPI are similar. They both look at inflation and they both measure inflation, but the Fed takes a liking to PCE. Now I'll get more into that, the differences in the next slide. But right now we'll see that PCE is increasing and is remaining pretty high. The core PCE also came in higher than expected. So remember, core PCE and core CPI both strip out energy and gas. I mean, energy is gas. Energy and food prices. So we're still increasing, right? PCE year over year came in at 5.4% versus a 5.3% previously. Core PCE came at 4.7% versus 4.6% previously. So came in higher than expected too as well. So, you see that, inflation is staying high. Inflation is kind of staying sticky and that poses a problem, right? So a lot of people, some economists are saying that they may have stopped raising interest rates quickly or too soon. I'm sorry. So they reduced their rate hikes to 20.25%, and some economists were saying that that was too early to stop that increase or to decrease the increase. This is the first uptick in 7 months, right? So it's kind of an important thing. Consumers may start feeling a little bit more comfortable with the market, and we'll see in the next few slides that they're more they feel better about the economy in the future. So this is kind of a good thing, but for consumers, but not so much of a good thing for the Fed, right? And so also the last 3 months, which is October, November, and December, CPI and PCE were revised higher. So that's also not a good thing, right? It came in higher than was actually reported. Also, this also means that, maybe the monetary policy that the Fed has done already has not worked its way through the economy, because we know that monetary policy takes about 12 months to get fully affected in the economy. So there's this lag. And so maybe this lag is the reason why PC is kind of staying sticky, or inflation is staying sticky. So here we see the difference between CPI and PCE. For the most part, CPI is usually always over PCE. And so there's several reasons for that. PCE is measured differently. So they'll have weightings on different items, differently. So for the most part, they're the same, but certain distinct items, they weight them differently. PCE also covers more of a broader range of things. So they cover more things, like for instance, in Medicare, like they cover Medicare and healthcare expenses. So that's kind of something different that they do. But the main driver of this change is that PCE accounts for substitution. So what that means is like when certain things increase in price, consumers change their spending, right? So if, let's say, a certain brand of bread goes up in price, they're going to go to another brand of bread that might be cheaper. So that kind of causes this difference in inflation rates, right, from CPI to PCE. So consumer spending, what are consumers spending on, right? Consumer spending increased 1.8% in January, and versus a previous negative 0.1%, right? So that's a pretty big increase. It's the biggest gain in almost 2 years. So, this would also be a lot of economists, when I was reading, that this might be considered a one-off occurrence, right? You might not see it next month, but it could be possible that we do. So the biggest contributions were new cars and trucks. So previously, in past reports, new cars and trucks were kind of decreasing. The spending on that has decreased, but in this PCE report, they started to increase again. Prescription drugs, there's a big increase in prescription drugs, and then takeout foods, which is services, right? And so here, this chart shows the services PCE index year over year. So we see that the services is kind of really moving the PCE, and it's causing a lot of the major change to PCE, right? So this is what's driving inflation currently. Service inflation is driving it. So goods has kind of moved away from driving inflation, and services is kind of remaining that stubbornly high and still increasing, right? So a lot of restaurants and bars that this is basically measuring, right? And then I was also going to say that GDP Q4 2022 was revised down from 2.9% to 2.7%. Consumer sentiments. All right, so this is conducted by the University of Michigan, and so it just measures how consumers are feeling about the future of the economy, how they're feeling about their wallets. Their wallets are looking good, and so the way to understand this is that a high consumer sentiment that we saw previously before the recession in 2020 was that consumers felt great. That means they're spending a lot of money. Firms are making a lot of money, right? So that means that's good for the stock market. That's good for investors. And so there's a lot of returns and a lot of investment. And so at that time, interest rates are probably low, right? So now, reversely, we see that this kind of decreases when inflation started to go high. People started to get kind of worried about the future of the economy. Their wallets might have been decreasing, either their savings accounts were decreasing as well. And so they start to become uncertain about the future. What is going to happen in the future? Is inflation going to still be going higher and higher? So this is where we see this kind of dip. So that dip, that bottomed out where it starts going back up. That's like in June, and so that's like where the peak of inflation was at. That's when inflation reached 9.1%, I think it was, and then it started going back down. So as soon as it peaked, inflation peaked, we started to see that bottom, and consumer sentiment started to rise again. Right. So that shows that their consumers are more happy or feel better about the current economy, which is also kind of not a good thing for the Fed, right? So if people feel better about the economy, they're going to spend more, and so they're going to spend more. This is probably going to, like I've said in previous meetings, and I keep saying it again and again, is that this is likely going to lead the Fed to increase rates beyond what they expected, right? So we can start to think about, like, if the Fed increases rates beyond what they expected, what will 2024 be like? Will we have a soft landing? So they have to increase rates higher than expected. This is probably going to lead to that hard landing, right? It makes the certainty of a soft landing less likely. That's all for me, guys. So if you guys are not connected with me on LinkedIn yet, you guys can connect with me.
Wow, definitely. Huge round of applause to Alex for giving us all that information. Really, really insightful, CPI versus PCE and all of that. So now let's move on to Brian with mergers and acquisitions.
All right, guys. So today I'm going to talk about the merger and acquisition between Ultra and Enjoy. Does anyone know about these two companies? No? All right. I didn't know neither. But let's get into it then. Ultra is a tobacco company. It's a giant in this industry. It's also one of the best dividend kings. The company portfolio includes several well-known brands such as Marlboro and Black & Mild. Altria has been diversifying its business in recent years to include non-tobacco products and investing in emerging industry like vaping and cannabis. In 2018, Altria made $12.8 billion investment into Juul Lab for 35% stake, which has seen face significant regulation challenge. And as you know, it didn't go well for Juul. And also, Altria partnered with Japan Tobacco International last year to offer new heat non-burn devices, which more detail expected to be announced this month. And as you can see also here, these are subsidies, factories of Altria, Philip Morris, and the others. And so let's talk about Enjoy. Enjoy is a leading independent e-cigarette company in the United States. And it's the number 3 vaping brand in US store, but has a very small stake in the market, represent about 3%. Enjoy emerged from bankruptcy in 2017 and has been a majority owned by hedge fund Moderate Capital. And they held around 51% stake of the company when it was valued at $40 million. Enjoy has 2 main products, a disposable and called Enjoy Daily and a refillable called Enjoy Ace. And this deal is actually brand new. It just came out yesterday. So we don't have a lot of information about it yet. And the status of this deal is also still at the proposal stage while there's still negotiation. And they haven't given out too much information about this. But from what we know, Altria is in discussion to acquire this Enjoy for at least $2.75 billion in cash. And why would they try to do this? It hasn't gone well for them this year since net income declined 44% from 4.5 billion in 2020 to 2.5 billion in 2021. And so that's why they're trying to expanding into different market, diverse their portfolio of business because of the significant decline in cigarette smoking. And Enjoy could add more vaping expertise to Altria because they have more knowledge about it. In addition, Altria have been made some bad investment over the year, include Drew. And just for the credit, try your best not to do drug, guys. Thank you. That's it.
Wow, definitely very interesting takes on some probably underreported topics. Personally, I hadn't heard of Altria before right now, so definitely very interesting. All right, now on to Professor Sweet with the sweet spot.
All right, just a second. Oops. All right, so we started our classes this week. They're going really, really well. So, find a class and jump in and get involved. We'll keep going with them next week. So I want to talk tonight about what you're reading and how you're reading. I think this is out on our website somewhere, isn't it? I don't know where, but if not, you can email me and get it. I highly recommend podcasts. You should listen to podcasts. What I recommend, this is something, you're going into the years of less exercise, more sitting behind a desk. And I have this philosophy, if I'm doing something that I could be moving while I'm doing it, I'm going to moving while I'm doing it. So I can ride a bike and listen to a podcast. It's much better to do that than sit at a desk listening to a podcast. So I combine my exercise with my listening. And so there's some podcasts I really like. Masters in Business and Invest Like the Best. I haven't listened to them in a little bit. I need to get back onto them. I love business breakdowns. I just think it's so exceptional. I just listened to one this week, which was just really exceptional. In Pursuit of the Perfect Portfolio is good to get some viewpoint of how people are putting portfolios together. Econ Talk is a little bit nerdy, but I liked it. There's a few others you can see. The Economist, I'm going to show you some articles from The Economist and why I love reading The Economist, but they supposedly have a weekly podcast. I don't use it. I read their entire magazine every week. I've read every single article they've written the last 10 years except for one, so I really like it. There's William Sharp has his blogs. Cliff Asness, I was just talking about him in a class today. I really love his stuff. A huge fan of Doug Hubbard. He has some YouTube videos that are very, very good. You can watch entire classes online. So Andrew Lowe, Dan Modern. There's professors who have their entire, I have all my classes out there, but you can listen to the real guys here that, have been PhDs. Really good stuff. You're going to find Dr. Lowe's MIT class to be amazingly not that difficult, even though it's a graduate level business finance. It's easier than my business finance class. There's some really good documentaries out there. PBS has a few. I love this one. It's not a positive one because it points out problems in our industry. Dan Modern has several really good YouTubes. There's two right there I have on the life cycle of business and the value of stories in business. Both of them excellent, excellent, excellent. Give you some ideas for interviews, how to talk. And then there's just a bunch of books that I really, really love. You can see my book list. I listen to all of them on Audible. I know some of y'all like to read and take notes while you go. I just want to listen and hear ideas, but it kind of depends. You got to get out, it's good in class to take notes and write, not type, but write. So it kind of sinks into your long term. But there's also times where you just want to listen. Let ideas flow. I love to just listen and I'll turn it off and just think about it. What does this mean? What's the implications? And so bunch of books. And I got a few more. I keep adding more as we go. This stuff I really, really enjoy. So reading is really, really critical. But The Economist, why do I like The Economist? So they're expecting you to read a Wall Street Journal. I don't read the Wall Street Journal. It's not my thing. But why do you read a Wall Street Journal? You're trying to be in the news. You want to make sure you're not unaware of the obvious stuff in the Wall Street Journal and cover it. I like the Financial Times a little better, but I don't really read either one of those. But I do like the Financial Times a little bit better. The reason I don't like the Financial Times and Wall Street is that they're published every day. And when you publish something every day, you got to fill it up, which means there's a lot of fluff, a lot of non-news. I think Taleb's the one that said, if you want to see how unimportant Wall Street Journal is, then read it 1 week late and you'll discover most of it is not important. So I like The Economist. It's published weekly. And so it's a little bit broader. They're not trying to just fill up with stories to fill up with stories. Another thing I love about The Economist is they go around the entire world. There's places in this world I wouldn't even know existed. And when I'm on my bike, it probably sounds dangerous, but I'll hear a country that I've never heard of before. I'll pause and I'll go find that country. What country surrounds it? How big is it? What's its population? Just so I can kind of know what's going on in some of these countries that some are pretty big countries, millions of people, huge landmass, but we don't hear much about them. So I just want to know what's going on. But let me show you a couple of articles in this last Economist so you can just see. So there was 3 that I thought were interesting. So they're broken. One wonderful thing about Economist is it's organized the same way every single time. So they start off with political news, business news, then they have what they call briefs, and then, or I can't remember briefs or leader. They have leads and then briefs, and they have letters to the editors. The letter to the editors can sometimes be the president of a country they just criticized, saying, hey, you don't know anything about us. Some really interesting ones. Then they go around the world, the United States, South America, the Americas, non-US Americas, Africa, Middle East, China, Europe. They go through each one of them. And then they have a finance and business section, which are always usually really good, a lot of theoretical things. They usually have a special report every once in a while. Sometimes a special report, I think the last one was like 10 articles on Italy. I mean, that's what you want, right? That kind of depth, know what's going on. So here's one they wrote: should Alphabet spin off YouTube? So this is kind of one for Brian to report on. So YouTube, I use YouTube all the time. I don't know if y'all do. I hate their advertising, but I still use YouTube all the time. What this article is saying is YouTube is kind of forgotten. It's out there and people forget that it's there and how powerful and big it is. So Wall Street analysts are kind of ignoring it. It's overshadowed by Alphabet. A combination of an advertising slowdown and TikTok. Obviously, TikTok's an issue. I've never used TikTok. How many of y'all know how to do a TikTok video? If you had to do one tonight, you could do it pretty quick. I can do YouTube videos left and right, but I don't know how to do a TikTok. I should do a TikTok video with the goal that no one watches it because I think I could do it. It's so boring and uninteresting. A combination of an advertising slowdown. So a lot of things are going on. So, but they started their own, YouTube has their own short video app. I get hooked a little bit on those, but for like 3 minutes and it's like but look at this. It has 2.6 billion monthly active users. A revenue sharing model that's really pretty cool. It's pretty easy. I haven't used it yet, but one of these days I will. They have their YouTube shorts with 50 billion views a day. Some of these numbers are just amazing. YouTube's share of TV viewing has recently eclipsed Netflix. And that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Last year, it paid its creators almost as much as Netflix paid its big budget. This is a big production company. It's pretty amazing. And how much do they spend on production? I mean, we do it for them, essentially for free, right? Just Shout reported 14 billion for American football on Sundays. That'd be interesting. Has too much else on its plate to give you too much attention. Without the hand in advertising, it would have greater freedom to experiment with subscription revenues. So essentially what they're saying is Alphabet is hindering YouTube. YouTube's kind of a distraction for Alphabet. And being part of a bigger company that has a lot of antitrust issues, that's harming YouTube. So they're saying, hey, YouTube could be free of this. And it would help Alphabet because Alphabet, everybody say you're too big, you have too much power, and say, hey, we just spun off YouTube. What are you talking about? Really good guys. So it helps them. Alphabet denies it's a monopoly, but obviously, especially in Europe, they don't like that. Massive ad revenues. It could be worth, YouTube by itself could be worth $300 billion, which means it's 50% more valuable than Disney. Would you imagine that? So what would happen if Alphabet spun off YouTube, or would someone buy it? 300 billion is a lot of money. So who would buy it? Would Microsoft want it? Would Apple want it? Kind of interesting. Do y'all use YouTube a lot or not? Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Is TikTok still the dominant one? Yeah, I don't even know how to use TikTok. I guess it's an app on the phone somewhere. I don't know. And then this article, I don't know where I'm on time. So, was I supposed to stop at 8:20 or 8:30? Oh, you're okay. So 8:30. Okay, I got a few minutes. So this was interesting. I guess it was last week. I can't remember when, but Walmart reported really great numbers. And the article said market tanks because of Walmart and Home Depot numbers. Okay, Walmart reported really good numbers. Walmart stock is up, and they're the reason the stock market is down. I said, okay, I got to understand that better. Well, The Economist wrote an article about it. So, okay, good. I don't have to go out and do the research. I can just listen to this article while I'm doing my biking. America splurged in January, shopping its way through the winter. You got the good jobs report. Retail sales rose 3%, as Alex was telling us. Really, really strong month. Those looking for evidence of soft landing. So essentially saying, look at Walmart, man, the economy's in great shape. On the surface, it looks great. 8.3% growth in revenue. That's pretty amazing. But its results are full of warning signs. Okay, so what was the stock market seeing at the headlines? Sometimes because I'm retired, I don't have much time. I'll look at the headline numbers and go, what's going on? Makes sense. Those are really good numbers. Why would Walmart be causing the market to fall when they reported such good numbers? And what economists said, cash-strapped consumers are trading down from Targets, I guess, or Macy's or whatever the other, well, I don't know them because I never go to those stores. But and they're not buying toys, clothes, hardware. They're buying more and more food from Walmart versus these other places. I would imagine Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. Walmart forecasts, and this is probably what did it, Walmart's forecasting slower growth ahead. Now, why would that move the markets? Why would Walmart's forecast of retail sales be better than Wall Street's forecast of retail sales? Does Walmart know more? Or they have inside information? They know what their stores are doing. So is that part of it? They say, wow, if Walmart says it's going to be bad, then our forecast must be wrong. We better adjust it. Why would Walmart actually even say this? So you know what firms do, right? They talk down their numbers, so they surprise on the positive. Is this Walmart being pessimistic? So you're like, wow, you had really great numbers. We're expecting horrible numbers. So y'all have heard that, right? Talking the numbers down and then reporting great numbers. I don't know. What incentive would Walmart have to say, hey, things look really bad? We talked about Home Depot. Our market outlook. I just Juan Carlos. Excuse me. I get you and Gallegos mixed up. Sorry about that. Talk about Home Depot having a terrible time. Their stock price did fall dramatically, right? So that was pretty bad. And shoppers' baskets may be lighter because the housing market wobbles. January, Walmart announced pay raises, $17.50. That sounds like a pretty good pay at a Walmart. It's going to cost them about $1 billion. Home Depot, as bad as things have been, they're having to pay their workers more. And these numbers, these great sales numbers, are due to things that aren't going to repeat again, like stimulus checks and those kind of things that are just not going to happen again. So all that gets spent. And so that no longer provides a tailwind. So I thought that, okay, that's helpful. That was interesting. And the last one, I won't go through this last one, but something that's been interesting to me is interest rates were 0.5% 3 years ago. Now they're 4%. What is that going to do to government budgets, the corporate budgets, to household budgets if we're spending a lot more on interest? How material is it? Is it $100 billion? Is it the size of our defense spending? What is it? So this article goes in and talks about that. And what they say is you can't just say, hey, we spent this X dollars on interest expense last year. Interest rates are 4 times higher, so just multiply by 4 because the government doesn't borrow floating rate, has a lot of 5-year and 10-year bonds. So not all of them reprice when rates rise. So what the economists said, hey, we ran a model, try to see what the impact was. And that's what this is doing. They're looking at the interest expense. It was 10.4 trillion. It's jumped to 13 trillion. And what they're saying is pretty soon, it's going to jump to 20% of GDP, essentially jumping from 12% of GDP to 20%. That's 8% of our economy is going to do nothing but be paying higher interest expense. That's got to hurt, doesn't it? That's a lot of money that's doing nothing but just paying interest expense. And one thing this article is talking about is it's going to affect different people differently. And so they show actually different countries and the impact that it's going to have on the different countries. So all this, that's 3 articles in one economist were things I was thinking about. I use YouTube all the time, say that's interesting. Y'all don't use YouTube, so there must be your parents and grandparents that are keeping them afloat. Maybe that's why YouTube's maybe not worth $300 billion. But if TikTok gets banned in the United States, what are you going to do, right? I'll be home happy with YouTube. You're going to be struggling to find something to do with your spare time. So it's interesting. YouTube's a pretty impressive company, has been very impressive. Find something where, so one thing you could do, get a partner. I did this at UTSA. I was responsible for reading The Economist. The guy who worked with me, he read the Financial Times, and we were constantly throwing articles back at each other. So essentially 90% of the Financial Times, I really don't care about because it's not going to be important a week later, but he's going to cover it. So he'll find that 10% that's important and get it to me. A big chunk of The Economist, probably just kind of nice to know information, but every once in a while he gets some really good articles I can pass on. So maybe partner up with someone and say, you take The Economist, I'll take the Financial Times, you take the Wall Street, split it up. If you see a good article, send it over my way. That might help you get 3 times more coverage, or just ride a bike 4 hours a day and listen to everything you possibly listen to, and that would work as well. All right, that's it for me. If y'all want any of these articles, let me know.
Thank you very much, Professor Sweet. Some really good stuff in there. We definitely have to, put up that reading list and all the podcasts that were just presented. So moving on. All right, our semester outlook. So obviously you guys should be staying up to date, attending all the events and doing all that. So some of the important dates for the semester. So right now we have our general meeting March 1st. Our list of meetings are as follows there on the left. Yeah, on the left there, right? Then this Friday, we're gonna have our SGA field day, all right? So feel free to come out. If you're not competing, it's fine. You can still show up to be an observer. You can still watch, right? Cheer us on as we hopefully, beat out all the other orgs and, win SGA field day. There's a couple different categories we could potentially win in. So all the support, your participation, would be greatly appreciated. Then March 20th, we're gonna have a Jeopardy type session with the Society of Economics. So this Monday, actually, at the Society of Economics, I heard that there was some really good conversations going on, some stuff about minimum wage, and that topic was thrown around. And personally, I wasn't able to attend, but now I kind of wish I did. That seems really interesting, and I heard it was really good. So definitely, stay up to date, know what you guys are going to be talking about, right? Because the Jeopardy event's coming up. It's going to be after spring break, right? So don't lose all your information over spring break. Like, kind of remember all that. Maybe do a little bit of extra studying, and then, hit the ground running with the Jeopardy for the Society of Economics. All right. So SGA Field Day. We have our basic schedule here, right? At 1:30 to 1:45, we're gonna be checking in this is gonna be at the rec fields. Then at 2, they're gonna do the announcements and the team roll call. So essentially, just kind of saying like where all the teams are and all that stuff. Then 2:20, the actual events and the games are gonna start. From there at 2:30, we have dodgeball. From at 3:50 we have the tug of war. At 4:10 we have the relays and the final. And then at 4:40 we have the awards and the closing ceremonies. So all that, it'll be a couple hours of your day on Friday. Feel free to come out if you have the time. I know I'll definitely be there. All right, so how many of you guys actually went to go to the investors hour? I ended up going. It was a really good event. We had some great speakers come out. The panelists were really great. It was a great networking event. And for the society, one of the things we aim to do is we aim to really provide you guys with the opportunity to succeed in all the fields that you want to do. So definitely for the ones that went, we'd love your feedback. You can reach out to any one of us, be like, hey, you know what, this was good, or oh, you know what, maybe next time we could do this. I've had a couple of people reach out to me already, like, oh, that was great. And this is something that's a bit new for us, these panel discussions, but it ended up going really well. Of course, we had Professor Sweet moderate the panel, and it was overall a great experience. I really enjoyed it, and I think we should definitely do more of these in the future. So let us know what you guys think, your thoughts, maybe what companies you want to see next, and we'll definitely aim to get that done. All right, so membership requirements, something that not everyone wants to talk about, but we have to have some requirements. So meeting attendance, you have to attend at least 6 general meetings throughout the course of the semester, right? For the class, you have to at least 50% of meetings or sector over the semester you have to attend. Then social events, just one social event, not too much, and there's been plenty of opportunities to get these credits throughout, and we're going to definitely be holding a lot more throughout the course of the semester. I know in the beginning it was a bit lax with what we had. And paying dues. So actually today is the final day to pay dues for this semester. So make sure to pay your dues. We have the prices up there, and yeah, make sure to pay your dues if you want to be entered within raffles. And dues really help us pay for all the events that we do. So like the investors hour, we had some catering and we had all that stuff, and it costs money to host these sort of events. So if you want to see more, then pay your dues. So we could actually fund all the things that we want to do. Attendance is taken at each meeting and all of that. All right, very nice. All right, so we got our market watch competition going. Definitely check it out. The market's been pretty rough, so there's a lot of losses. So realistically, anyone has a chance here. It's open game. No one's too far ahead, right? So definitely go and check out the market watch competition if you haven't signed up already. And hopefully next time we can see you on the leaderboard if you're not already there. And if you are, then congratulations. All right. So society merch, make sure to come out and buy our shirts at the end of the meeting. We have our regular t-shirts, which are going fast. Honestly, I really like the design. We gave a couple of the designs to the panelists for the investors hour, and they really liked it. And then we also have our polos there as always. All right, spring grads and who's graduating this semester, make sure to scan that QR code, fill it out if you haven't already, right? And go on. That's going to be important to us for Stoles and all of that before we move on. All right, I'll take that as everyone's ready. All right, perfect. All right, so that's pretty much all we have, right? We have our link tree there. Make sure to check it out. Make sure to join our LinkedIn, Instagram, Telegram, and all of that.